Setting powders can be your best friend or they can be your worst enemy. They can make your skin look smooth and blurred, they can set your makeup down all day, or they can be your worst enemy. The wrong powder can settle into your fine lines and wrinkles, aging you and making you look older than you want, or on the other hand, it can ruin your beautiful, perfect, full face of makeup by looking gummy and heavy on top. We want to avoid those things. I'm a professional makeup artist who is really picky about makeup, and today I'm telling you my top 5 favorite setting powders that I personally have ever tried. I think there's something in here for everyone. I have pressed formulas, I have loose formulas, I have under eye setting powders, I have all over the face setting powders. I have some that are a little bit more glam, some that are a little bit more natural. So if you want to know my top 5 setting powders, keep on watching. So a really common problem that people have with their setting powders is that it tends to crease under the eyes and it gives the under eye area a bit of a heavy effect. So that does lead to more visible product settling into fine lines and wrinkles, making you look older than you'd like. So I found a couple powders that do not do that. So this first one is one of my favorite under eye setting powders. This is the PatMcGrath Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder. So right before I started filming this video, I actually dropped this powder and shattered it. I thought it was going to be all gone and not usable, but thank God the base of the powder is still there. This is a baked powder, so it does come with that sort of rounded effect that a lot of baked powders do. And I have this one in the shade Baby Pink, and let me tell you why this is so special to me. So I have fair skin, right? It can be really difficult to find a setting powder that actually brightens my under eye area without using like a white powder, and sometimes that can look pretty harsh. What I love about this one here is that it does give a little bit of pigment, but it is not heavy in the slightest. This is a very, very finely milled powder that is very comfortable to wear on the under eyes. It's long lasting. Again, finely milled, so it's not going to settle into those fine lines and wrinkles under your eyes the way a lot of other powders do. Very lightweight, just honestly an incredible formula. I'm going to show you this powder on this side of my face. I'm just going to take a small powder puff and I'm going to pick that powder up on that puff. But before I go in underneath my eye, I always like to just take my powder and press it in on the back of my hand, so I'm not applying any excess, not applying too much that's going to weigh down the delicate under eye area. Another step I personally cannot skip when I'm applying under eye powder is I just do a quick set under my eyes with my concealer brush just to tap out any fine lines and wrinkles so you aren't setting those in place all day long. Once you've done that, you're going to want to just take your puff and press that powder into the under eye area. You can see I'm pressing and not dragging, and immediately there is brightness underneath my eyes. If you want to build up the intensity a little bit, you can take a little more of that powder and almost just build it in the areas where you want more brightness, more coverage. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but in person, immediately this side is mattified. It is brighter than without powder. And again, this just is a really long lasting formula, which is something I personally heavily consider in a setting powder. Is it gonna last me all day, or is it gonna start to look gummy a couple hours in? I personally really want to avoid that. And all of these powders that I'm talking about today do not have that problem. This particular setting powder comes in 5 different shades, and I know it's a little bit on the pricier side. It's $45, but this comes with so much product. When I dropped this product, it shattered all over the floor, and so that's why I thought I lost it all. But I just lost the top half of it, and there's actually quite a bit of product still left in here, even after dropping it and breaking it on the floor. So I think this powder would last you a very, 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 very long time. Another thing to consider if you want to pick up this powder, the Sephora sale is happening very soon. I believe it begins on April 4th and goes until April 14th. So that would be a really good time to pick up this powder. I will link it in the description down below. This second powder is my secret for under eyes. This powder is so underrated. No one talks about this powder, but in my opinion, it's one of the best under eye setting powders along with PatMcGrath. This is the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder for the under eyes. So this is formulated specifically for the under eye area. However, I do tend to use this in other areas of my face where I tend to get fine lines and wrinkles. So around my mouth, for example, I get little smile lines. I will actually use this powder to set that area, and it lasts all day and never gathers and looks gummy around that high movement area. Another thing I will say about this powder is this one is my go-to for when I know I really need my makeup to last a very long time, or if I have a party or an event. This is the one that I go to when my makeup needs to last all day, all night, 12 hours plus. This powder locks anything you set it with in place and blurs it to perfection. If a baked and pressed setting powder like the PatMcGrath one I just talked about isn't your thing, this is a loose setting powder. So some people really prefer a loose formulation. I actually like both. For this one, I like to take a little bit into the cap. I also like to use this one with a powder puff. I just find I like to set my under eye area with the powder puff. It tends to give me the best finish. Same thing, it's just patting out any product that may be gathered in my fine lines and wrinkles underneath my eyes. And so on this side of my face, I'm going in with that Laura Mercier setting powder, and this is more of a white formula, but this ends up applying more translucent, so I do think quite a few different skin tones could get away with using this powder, but if I'm not mistaken, they do have one more shade that is more tailored for darker skin tones. Side by side, I would say these look pretty similar. The Laura Mercier maybe has a slight advantage when it comes to brightening, and in my opinion, it also wears a little bit longer than the PatMcGrath, but I just love both. I love the PatMcGrath for easy touch-ups throughout the day. I like to just toss it in my purse with a little powder brush, and then I'll just brighten up my under eyes throughout the day, so I love that about the PatMcGrath. But these two are both amazing powders for setting underneath the eyes. I've tested so many, and these are my tried and true. The PatMcGrath is $45, the Laura Mercier is $48, so very comparable in price, definitely on the higher end, but they both last a very long time, and they're both available on Sephora, so if you want to take advantage of the Spring Savings Event, that is a great time to pick these up. This next powder might be my favorite all-around powder. I can use this for my face, I can use this for under my eyes, I can use this for touch-ups. This is just a very versatile, solid powder. I'm talking about none other than the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Setting Powder. I use the shade Fair, and as you can see, I've hit pan on this one. I've gone through, I want to say this is my third or fourth one of these, so I obviously really love this powder, and I have backups stocked ready to go for when this one runs out. This powder is finely milled enough that you can wear it underneath your under eyes, but I really love this powder for all over the face. I find this is a very lightweight powder that does not get gummy on top of your foundation, but this really gives you a blurred filter-like effect. It really does give you that airbrush flawless finish. It's not gimmicky, it actually does what it says it does. When I wear this, it really gives my skin a nice mattified finish, but it never looks too heavy, it never gets gummy. I actually think that if you have oily skin, you'd like this, but I also think if you have dry skin, you'd like this. I just find this to be such a versatile powder, and everyone kind of loves it for a good reason. So my skin's a little bit more on the dry side today, so I'm not sure if you can see the difference between no powder and powder on this side. Another thing I like about this powder is that it has a little bit of coverage. I think that's why it really makes your skin look blurred and flawless and perfected. I personally like to apply this one with a brush around my entire face, and if I ever wear it underneath my eye, I like to use a powder puff. That's just my preference, but you could use either with this powder. This powder goes for $66.50, so if you want to buy this powder, definitely get it during the Sephora Savings Event. I will link it down below. This is a pricey one, but it does last a fair amount of time, I would say, and I just think it's worth it. It's one of the best powders that I've personally ever tried, pressed powder especially. The next powder I'm sure you've heard someone at some point rave about because it is a cult classic for a reason. And I actually didn't used to love this powder, but now that I've learned how to use it, it has its place and it's really grown on me. This is the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Baking and Setting Powder. I really like the shade Cupcake, but Huda has a bunch of different shades that you can pick from. This powder, I would say, is more for a specific girl. If you like very matte makeup, if you like glam makeup, if you like coverage in your powder, you are going to like this powder a lot. The one downside I would say is if you have extremely dry skin, maybe this isn't the best powder for you because it's very kind of has a tightening effect and makes your skin really matte, but I don't mind that, especially when I'm going for a glam look. This is my go-to powder. She is that girl. So now you can see both sides of my face have that very matte, very airbrushed effect. In fact, the Huda Beauty powder is quite similar to the Charlotte Tilbury powder, except it is in a loose powder form, and I would say it has a slightly heavier texture than the Charlotte Tilbury, but it also gives a little bit more coverage and a little bit more drama, especially if you use it for baking. This one is also a little bit more affordable. It is $53 and it comes with a ton of product. I think you would need to use this powder for a very long time to use it up, so I do think it's worth it. Another thing I love about this powder is it comes in 10 different shades, so there's a shade for everyone. Whether you want to use this powder for a more brightening effect, or maybe you want something a little closer to your skin tone to just set your entire face, Huda has got you covered. So the similarities that these two share is they both have a little bit of coverage to their formula. They're both long wearing, they both apply beautifully over makeup, they do not get gummy, and they do not settle into fine lines as long as you don't over apply. On this side, this is a pressed powder, so it can be a little bit easier to use and you're not gonna get as crazy of a dramatic effect with it, but it's just a really good all-around powder. The Huda Beauty, on the other hand, a little bit heavier, more for my full glam, soft glam girls. It comes in a pressed sort of situation, so if you prefer that, you will love this one. Both are great, it just kind of depends on your taste a little bit. I also love that these both give a blurred effect. On to my last powder that I want to talk about today. This is a drugstore dupe. So if you're like, Amanda, all the powders you're talking about are just out of my budget, I got you, girl. I found the best drugstore powder. This is actually a Huda Beauty Easy Bake dupe. I'm talking about the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder. Some bad news, she is currently missing in action. I took her somewhere with me. I really needed her, and I don't know where she is. Definitely missing in action. I may or may not find her. If I don't find her, I'm going to the drugstore and repurchasing immediately because she is so good. Let me tell you why. This is, in my opinion, an exact dupe of the Huda Beauty Easy Bake powder, except it is only $12.99 depending on where you get it. It can be a little more, a little less. But this powder is matte. This powder is blurring. This powder is long wearing. It's not too heavy. It's not too lightweight. It really is a good everyday powder. I've used this under my eyes for baking. I've used this all over my face and my makeup has stayed in place all day long. This is definitely for someone who wants more of a matte finish, maybe even someone who wants more of a high impact powder. So something with a little bit more coverage, something that's a little bit more glam. But this is probably the best drugstore powder that I've ever used. And it comes in 8 different shades, so there's going to be a shade for everyone. If you are looking for good quality products on a budget, I highly recommend you try this one. I'm so Snoopy, you guys. I always read and respond to pretty much all your comments, so please leave a comment down below letting me know what your favorite powder is. You guys influence me all the time, and I am always buying your recommendations. I hope you found this video helpful. These are my top 5 best setting powders that I have used. I will be linking all of them down below, so just check out the description. If you haven't done so already, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe. It only takes 2 seconds, but it really makes a huge difference in supporting this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.